Hello, we want to welcome you today to a very special edition of Pursuit of Truth. This is Connie Swain, and with me I have my very dear friend, Connie Coleman.
Hello.
And we are the two Connies.
C squared.
C squared. We have been friends for years, and I have been we both have been wanting to do this interview for a while, especially given some of the recent events, and that will become clear as we go along. To kind of set the stage, Connie is the CEO or the head of Wise Choices Pregnancy Resource Center. We live in Wise County, and Wise Choices is the resource center, the pregnancy resource center for counseling women with surprise, unwanted, however you want to call it, pregnancies. And Connie oversees that effort. One of the reasons we felt it was so crucial is given the recent events, and as we have become more and more aware of the political platform that is coming into leadership, people need to understand what we're really dealing with. So we're going to talk about that. Many months ago, I think it was even back in March when the quarantine first began, I heard a word and I shared it with Connie. A gentleman that was a godly man said that he felt like the most important thing to God during this election was the subject of life. And so we're going to talk about life today. So that is why, because what we're seeing is most of the people, most of the world do not truly understand what they're dealing with when we deal with the topic of abortion. So there may be some parts that are going to be very sensitive. I want you to be sensitive to that. In the link or in the comments, I will put a link to Wise Choices so that you can find out more about them. They do have a Facebook page, social media page. They're on YouTube, right? They do have a YouTube channel. And so please get to know them. If you do not live in this area, I want to highly, highly, highly recommend that you connect with the local Pregnancy Resource Center. If you don't know how to find one, I'm sure Connie's organization can help you connect.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but before we get into it, I want you to make sure and like this video, subscribe to, and ring that notification bell. So every time I do a video, you can see it. I've been doing this series on the pursuit of truth, especially in light of the elections and what we've been through. So now we're going to get into it. Are you ready, girl?
I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Well, tell us a little bit, Connie, how you became CEO of Wise Choices.
That's a journey. That is a sincere journey. I had a friend that worked at Wise Choices, and she introduced me to it and called and asked, and we just had several different conversations. I went to one of their galas and ended up volunteering and getting trained to do the volunteering. At the time, I was still had a job outside of Wise Choices, and about 3 years after I started volunteering, I was asked to sit on the board of directors, and I thought at the time that was the greatest honor I had ever had. I have the most respect for Wise Choices as an organization, as it stands for integrity and just what it does, the heart of who Wise Choices has been and continues to be. But while I was on the board of directors, I then got asked to become the CEO. And my prayer was, Lord, just don't let me mess this up if this is what you want me to do. Because I had just that much respect for what God did, not just in those four walls, but through the ministry itself. And so it was almost like he just kind of went like this. And I had secular experience as CEO, owners of a business, CEO of an oil and gas manufacturing company. I had been involved in parachurch women's ministry and speaking and doing conferences, that kind of thing. But it was like all of a sudden when I came to Wise Choices as CEO, the Lord took everything He'd sown into me and said, here. And then the first summer I was there, I started a 2-summer series of doing some pro-life bioethics trainings. And so we went to Oklahoma Wesleyan University. We're taught pro-life apologetics, public speaking, the biblical case for life, 501c3 management, all of it, and really sat under the best of the best nationwide, and a couple of them are worldwide ministries, and just got to glean, because in this business saying I am pro-life, and when someone asks you why, I say, because the Bible tells me so. It's not going to get it done.
Right.
It's not going to get it done. And so just having the opportunity to train under the best, to be able to present the case for life scientifically, philosophically, biblically, and look at the ministry as a business, has opened the doors for me to do some national pro-life speaking. And the business background has allowed me to do some consultation work with some other pregnancy centers. So God really did, for such a time as this, so everything He had ever sown into me came together in this
moment,
in this job, if you want to call it.
It's more than a job.
It is more than a job.
It is. Well, given that it is a pro-life organization, I want you to share with everybody, I don't want any assumptions made, exactly what is your stand on abortion?
There are many ways to say this, to word this, and so before we go too far, I just want to ask your permission, to be just blunt, raw, honest.
Yes, go for it.
I know some of this is sensitive. My goal is never to offend. My goal is to stand for truth and stand for life, and do it in a winsome way where we can have those conversations and leave room to have conversations with people that disagree, but at the same time be very clear on what I believe in and what I feel is truth.
Yes.
Ultimate truth.
Yes.
And so my stance on abortion is I am against it. It's pretty simple.
Pretty cut and dry.
I believe that God is the author as well as the creator of life. And if we ever fully understand that God creates life, there's no accident, there's no life without purpose, there's no I'm just happened to be here, so the choices that I make after that don't matter, or this baby just happened and so the choices I make with this life don't really matter. If we can ever fully understand we are created from the moment of conception until our life's natural end, God handles all of that.
That's right.
He created it. I do believe it's conception. There are some that you will hear say it's implantation. And I think...
Can you speak briefly to that, what the difference is?
Absolutely. At the moment of conception, let's just go scientific. If you look in science books, biology books, embryonic books, science now proves at the moment that the male sperm meets the female egg, a whole new
nucleus
creation,
yes.
It's called a zygote, is formed. So both parts fall away and you have a whole new living organism with every bit of the DNA it will ever have. Mm-hmm. So it's not like an assembly line. It's not like during the 9 months you're pregnant,
things get
God
added,
sticks an arm and God sticks blue eyes and God sticks whatever. At the moment of conception, and when you see it under a microscope, there's even this point of explosion.
Oh, I love that.
When the two come together and form one life. Now, implantation is when that zygote or that new embryo makes its way to the mother's uterine wall.
Okay.
And so there are people who believe that can sometimes take up to a week. And so there are people that believe that life is not life until it implants.
Okay.
When we get into some other topics, that becomes very crucial.
Okay.
But scientifically, life is life at the moment of conception.
Okay.
No one, even the pro-choice people, do not argue that anymore. They used to, but they
because
don't
at that point, even from that time till the time it does implant, it is continually moving and changing and growing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I mean, by what? I don't know. It just went
exponentially.
I mean, days in.
Yes.
I think something like 21 days, the heart's already beating.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it's not, yeah, absolutely. Those 4 or 7 days, man, they're growing at rapid speed.
That's
amazing.
Good stuff. So this is going to be a little rough, so I just want to prepare you ahead of time. But I want Connie to explain the different types of abortion. But before I do, something I want to say, and maybe you can help with this a little bit. If you have gone through the pain of abortion, there is no condemnation in this.
No.
Knowledge is power. I fully believe that people, the majority of women that experience abortion have done it because of a lack of information, lack of knowledge. Not stupid. They did not have the knowledge they need to fully understand the choice they were making. There is forgiveness in that. And in this talk that we're having, you're going to see just how much God redeems. However, until the world understands what's really behind this, we can't begin to make any changes. So just bear with us. And if it's sensitive or hard for you, I'm terribly sorry. But bear with us a little bit. And I'm going to have Connie explain the different types of abortion that are out there.
And I'm not going to be really graphic. I am not a medical professional, but early on in pregnancy, there is what is known as a suction abortion, and they do just that. They go into the uterus and suck the baby out of the uterus. I know in some medical professions and some medical settings, they will call it fetus. It's a baby from the moment of conception, right. So it's baby all the way through for me. There is a D&C, dilation and curettage, and that's where they dilate the cervix, and then they go in and scrape all of the...
And that's very similar to the procedure that they do when women have, what is that thing when the blood builds up in their uterus? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, that procedure
it's the
is
same procedure. For multiple things, but they also use it for abortion.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a Plan B pill, which has become very prevalent over the last few years. It's taken within 48 hours of having sex to prevent the implantation. It has an abortifacient where it has a piece to try to prevent conception, but the main part of it is that it sloughs the uterine wall, and so it prevents implantation.
So if conception has already taken place, then as it travels to the uterus, then it is unable to attach to the uterine wall.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, let's face it, Plan B is around because we forgot about Plan A.
Yes.
But it's almost becoming a form of birth control, especially in our younger generation. They're not waiting to see if they actually get pregnant. They're not waiting to see anything. They had sex. They don't want to take a chance. And so they, up to a couple of days after, take this Plan B pill. But it is an abortifacient. And sadly, most of our society doesn't list it that way. And so people aren't told that it has, that's what it does. It stimulates abortion, causes your body to abort whatever is in the uterus. Plan C, they're now calling it, is the RU486, which is more known as the abortion pill. It's for up to 10 weeks.
Wow. And
so it's a combination of 2 different drugs. You take one and it breaks down the progesterone, and the second one, it causes your body to expel.
Okay. So let me clarify something though. So up to 10 weeks. So a heartbeat's at 3 weeks.
Yes.
So I want that to sink in.
At 10 weeks, you can plainly see the heart beating. Baby has form. Baby has, if you've ever seen the footprint, the little gold footprint things
pins
that people wear, those are 10 week.
Wow.
And so fingerprint,
everything,
fingers, toes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
All there at 10 weeks. And the thing that is tragic to me is this RU486, they give the girls in the abortion clinics, they give them the first pill, which will start the body rejecting, and send them home. Now, mind you, we're talking women's health care because we care about women. Yeah. They send them home to take the second pill to expel the products of conception, as they call it, on their own, alone, at home.
And caring about women is the excuse they give, or the line they give, actually the lie they tell.
Yes.
To allow this to happen. You know, we care about women, so we're going to give you this drug that causes your body to react in a very traumatic way, but sends you home to deal with it.
Yes.
Yes.
The cramping, the physical pain, the hemorrhaging.
Oh goodness, all of it.
Terrifying.
Yes.
Terrifying. Other terrifying, you can order the 2 components of this RU486 or Plan C on the internet.
With the doctor's prescription?
No.
Goodness gracious. So a 14-year-old girl that had sex and found out she's pregnant could order this without mom knowing.
Yes.
Without any adult knowing, and go through all of these things without an adult, a responsible adult knowing.
In the word of caring.
Oh my goodness, that's horrific.
I don't know how as a society we've fallen for it.
One of the things recently, of course, we've kind of gotten into TikTok a little bit, and I am shocked at the number of TikTok videos that show this, that show women how to get it, how to get the pills, how to get the, and of course TikTok has a tremendous number of young people on there, and so you know they're targeting the young people, and they advertise Plan B and RU486 regularly on TikTok.
Yeah, Plan B, you do have to be, I'm not sure if it's 15 or 17. Someone can correct me.
Yeah.
I'm having
but you have to be a little older, to
but
get it.
You can get it over it's on the shelf at
The store.
Any store.
Wow.
That's
crazy. That's crazy. So continue on with the other kinds of. Those are the major abortions. One of the things I do want you to share with them about the protocol that y'all have been approved to do on this. So go for it. You know the terminology. Yes. I don't. So
we are an abortion pill reversal network hub, and so if someone has taken the first pill in the 2-pill RU486 abortion pill combination and changes their mind or says, this is just not what I want to do, there is an 800 number. We can put it in the comments.
Yes.
I'll look it up. But there is, if you Google abortion pill reversal, it will take you to an 800 number, and they connect you with a clinic that is a hub that's closest to you, and there is a progesterone plan.
You don't know the terminology.
No.
She knows it. She's having a moment.
I'm having lots of these moments. But they can do the ultrasound and confirm that it's actually a legitimate pregnancy. Otherwise, there's no need to do this. And they introduce the progesterone back in at different levels, and they can reverse the abortion pills effects. Yes.
That's awesome.
And I think they're having about 70 to 72% success rate.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible.
So,
that is amazing.
Yes.
I love that. Wow. Well, I spoke at the beginning that today's environment, from the beginning of this election cycle, even a year out, Connie and I have spoken about this a lot, because I did say that we believe with all our heart that God's heart is for life. God creates us, and we've heard that it is from concept. He designed us so that we begin to be formed at conception. And this understanding of all of this right now is so important, giving the results of the election or the incoming platform and their very vocal acknowledgement of their view of abortion. I don't want to get into any of that because I don't want to risk this video being taken down, but that's really and truly why we are doing this. One of the things that a lot of people have said, they've thrown around all these numbers about how many people have done abortions, and I know I've heard 60 million since abortion was legalized, but speak to that a minute because it's much larger.
It is much larger. And any statistics that I use straight from Guttmacher, which Guttmacher is the reporting arm of Planned Parenthood. Okay. So these are the numbers, not that pro-life people are trying to make a stand about. These are their reported numbers.
Wow.
And so, yes, 62 million since Roe v. Wade in 73. The problem with that is number one, it doesn't take into effect Plan B at all because they report Plan B under their birth control methods.
So they count that just like you going in to get the pill, the birth control pill.
Condoms, whatever, yes.
Wow. So
it's completely separate. But that 62 million also does not consider the RU 486 abortion pill. Mm-hmm. So the problem there is at this point in time, about 60% of abortions are chemical on the RU 486 side versus surgical.
Which is the 60 million number we hear.
Yes. When you add in the RU 486 by Guttmacher's own numbers, you're talking another 250 million.
Wow. Incredible. Since abortion was legalized in 1971, right? 73.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're talking 312 million.
Worldwide, America.
Worldwide.
That's incredible. That is a plague. I saw an incredible commercial recently where they call it a plague, and that's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just horrific that. I'm sorry. What?
That's United States.
That's only United States.
That's United States.
Wow.
That's United States.
So
the 62 million is United
exponentially multiplied.
I am looking, if you want to see, I'm looking on their site right now to make sure.
Wow. That's incredible. So worldwide, it's exponentially larger.
Approximately 250 million babies aborted chemically since 73 in the United States.
Goodness gracious.
According to Guttmacher.
That's incredible. Okay. This is heavy stuff, like I said. Now I want to get into something it may be a little graphic, I'm sorry. But I want you to speak a little bit to full-term abortions. When the incoming president, vice president, began their journey, they made it very clear that they are going to legalize full-term abortions. And that is the reason we're doing this. Had the other party won, we'd still be doing this because we realize that the majority of people do not fully understand this subject at all. And even godly Christians have heard it. They think, oh, well, it doesn't affect me. And the problem is, it does affect you, and you may not know it. To me, as a grandmother, the thought that, one of my children, had I had sons, an in-law child, could have gone and had an abortion and I not had one of my grandchildren, it just breaks my heart. And so I wanted to talk to this, especially because recently we've heard about full-term abortion, but a lot of people don't understand what it means. So could you describe what a full-term abortion is?
It's most often referred to as partial birth abortion. And so at full term, they partially deliver the baby and snip the back of the neck, killing the baby. Now they do inject. Sometimes they inject stuff to stop the heart and then deliver. Sometimes they inject to stop the heart and it doesn't work, and so they deliver and they'll snip.
Wow.
And I didn't address that in the types of abortion.
That's okay.
It just
is that currently being done?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sadly, it goes further than that.
Yes.
And so when we talk about life from conception, and that science has now proven, scientifically, life begins at conception.
There's no argument.
There's no argument. Pro-choice doesn't even try.
Right.
What they've now decided is different is the issue of personhood.
Wow.
So you can be alive at conception, but you're not a person until some arbitrary
point in time.
Some people will say 20 to 24 weeks when viability is assigned. Some say birth, that there's something magical that happens from the womb through the birth canal, and now you weren't a person and now you are a person. Some go so far, and this is the terrifying thing that society is moving closer and closer towards, that personhood is not assigned until an infant has a desire to live and an ability to see itself in the future.
And
that's around age 2.
Oh my goodness.
So in their argument, the mother should be able to choose whether that baby has life from conception, not just to 20 weeks of viability, not to birth, but in the case of botched abortions, they are birthing the babies and then deciding whether to offer medical care to it or not, because it hasn't reached personhood.
Oh my goodness.
That's going on in the United States.
So when these children are born, what exactly happens if they are alive?
If the mother wants to continue the abortion, they will either snip or just
let it die.
That's the society.
That's horrific.
That certain platforms are driving to our nation toward.
So if there's a partial birth or full-term abortion, that's just the only way to describe it, and they start the procedure, could the child live possibly?
We have several actual pro-life speakers that have addressed Congress and have addressed that survived abortions.
Really?
Yes.
They were actually being aborted and they survived it so they could live. Goodness gracious. Wow. That's just
Tell me God doesn't have a plan.
He does, even when we try to destroy it. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, that's a pretty heavy subject. Now we're going to shift a little bit because I want you to talk about Wise Choices and what it does. What exactly does Wise Choices Pregnancy Resource Center do?
Wise Choices empowers life-affirming choices and decisions.
That. Yes.
How do we do that? Everyone is welcome in our doors. Whatever your belief is, whatever your desire is, whatever your options you're considering, you are welcome.
Yes.
In our doors. We have advocates that will sit down and listen and hear your heart and hear where you are. We have advocates that will meet with the dads, that meet with the family, if you want your family to be a part of the decisions that are following. We offer the pregnancy test. We are a full medical clinic, and so we follow HIPAA guidelines and all of that. We do the pregnancy tests. We have an amazing nursing staff that does pregnancy tests, sonograms, We offer
Real quickly though,
Yes.
you said she's got a nursing staff.
Mhm.
Speak to the medical side and your covering for that.
We have 2 medical directors.
Okay.
We chose to go with 2 when we added STD testing. And so we have one doctor that's the doctor of obstetrics. She oversees all the pregnancy tests and ultrasounds. So everything that's done in our clinic passes through the hands and the eyes of our medical director. And then we have an RN/RDMS who is an RN, has full RN training, has gone on to have her sonography training, and has gone on even further to where she can train other sonographers.
Wow.
And then we have an LVN sonographer who also does a lot of our pregnancy testing and our STD testing. And then we have another RN in training who is learning to do the sonography as well.
That's incredible.
And so, yeah, we have an amazing medical staff.
Yes. So what else do y'all provide? What other services? That's really, I know this, y'all don't, but it is the tip of the iceberg for what they do.
It is.
So go for it.
We, thankfully, we are set up to walk with a mom up until the child is age 3.
That's incredible.
And so we have an Earn While You Learn program where they can do parenting, they can do budgeting, they can do, was Dave Ramsey, they can do Bible studies, you can do all manner of different studies that we have. You earn points to purchase diapers, formula, wipes, anything you need for baby, clothing, up until age 3.
Yes.
Now the fun is dad can also get in on that. So can, if you're living with parents, so can the grandparents.
That's incredible.
And so it's for the whole family unit. We have lots of classes, lots of training, nutrition classes, parenting, actual group classes. We have an LPC associate that will start seeing clients in January. So that just allows, so much of the time we feel like we are, because we do mostly peer counseling. So it's mentoring, life coaching, but we feel like sometimes we just touch the tip of the iceberg of some things that maybe people have had to deal with in their past. And so we're bringing on this LPC associate to really be able to do the
deeper counseling.
Deeper counseling. We partner with a number of different organizations here in town. We can help people get GEDs. We can partner with them for housing. We've recently partnered with the Sheriff's Department to remove one of our clients from an abusive situation. And so we really are kind of like the ER of pregnancy. And so people come in, and whatever we can do to help, to guide, to encourage, to strengthen, to take excuses off the table. But, you know, and sometimes we have people that donate blankets, just for a real quick example. And sometimes when we give a girl who's pregnant and thinks the whole world is against her, or thinks she's on her own in it, handing her a hand quilted baby blanket is the first time anybody has said congratulations. You know, maybe the situation isn't what you wanted, but this is life and we're going to celebrate it.
Yes.
It also speaks legacy to these girls. That's something they want to hand down, and they want their child to be able to hand down later. And so just every little thing.
That's incredible.
Just so strength and encouragement. We have abortion recovery classes, as you mentioned. That is a topic that is so desperately needed in our area. 1 in 3 women by age of 45 have been touched by the issue of abortion. 1 in 3. In the churches, out of the churches, in
just across the board.
Everywhere. Suburban, rural, doesn't matter. Across the board, the average is 1 in 3. And so our abortion recovery classes are strong. Amazing time. Society wants you to think this is just the easy choice. Go in, take care of it real quick, however way you choose. Wash your hands of it, you'll be done. And that just is not
It's not
truth.
the case.
No.
I want to go back to the medical side of things. I know that you guys do, you mentioned sonograms. So what difference has the introduction of the sonogram technology into the center? What difference has that made?
It's amazing. It's, I mean, you remember?
I
You remember seeing your sonogram when you were, I remember seeing that little peanut and hearing that little heartbeat and just, you know, so early in pregnancy, it's so hard, especially if we weren't expecting or weren't wanting. This wasn't what we were trying to do.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you see that little peanut moving around and you see that heartbeat flickering, and it just shows how undeniably alive that baby is. And it's probably, that has probably saved more lives than anything, is just seeing life.
Once the women get in there, get on that table and see that, then it's hard to deny.
Yes.
And they choose life the majority of the time.
And we're proud. I mean, at Wise Choices, we, and I think it's because all are welcome. I think it's because we are devoted to listening. We're devoted to sharing the truth of the gospel. So 95% of our clients actually hear the gospel. It's really cool because some of them are already Christians themselves, and so they share the gospel with us. You know,
that's great.
It's incredible. Where was I going with that?
I don't know, but it's good. We were talking about the sonogram, and I do want you to talk about the mobile unit.
Yes,
go for it.
We do. We have a 37-foot mobile medical unit. All of our services that we offer are all offered on that bus, our mobile clinic. And it is a fantastic tool. We found out that we were doing a great job of being confidential for our clients and being a confidential, safe place for them to come. But in being confidential, even in Wise County, there were a lot of people that didn't know we existed. And so just being able to get that bus out, go to the girls. We don't like to think in Wise County that we have young ladies that can't get to us, but we do. And so just to be able to say, hey, you know, wherever you are, we can come there. We can be in your town. We can be within a couple of blocks of where you are. Has been an amazing tool. And I think sometimes in our Christian walks and here, somebody just needs to know they're worth coming after.
That's right. That's good. That's true.
And we want them to know they're worth coming after.
That's true.
And so we do everything we can.
Yeah. One of the nurses goes on the bus, so they can do all the medical services on the bus, as well as provide counseling. I know that sometimes they'll schedule appointments, so if people cannot come into the center, even for convenience sake or time's sake, then they can go to the bus and get everything taken care of.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible. One thing I did kind of leave out in talking about this, they provide well woman checks for pregnant women who are unable. They can go and at least get some help or health check to make sure their baby's okay if they are indigent or that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. We charge nothing.
Yes.
We don't care how much you do or don't make. We charge nothing for any of our services.
Right,
we have amazing donors and partners. It's not that all those services are free, because they're not.
Right.
We have about a $500,000 a year budget, but we have partners and donors that make sure that cost and that expense is met.
Yes.
So that if you need help and if you need our services, we're here.
Right. Exactly.
So.
One thing that I think a lot of times when you hear people who are pro-abortion, they fight against pro-lifers, and the excuse or the reason is always, they throw it out always, is in the case of rape or incest or to save the mother's life. So tell us, what actually is the percent of time or an estimate? How often, when you look at all of the abortions, how often are those factors in the reason behind getting an abortion?
In talking about rape or incest, we'll just start with that one because that is often the one thrown.
Mm-hmm.
First, if you have been a victim of rape or incest, please know our heart is with you.
Yes.
We love you. We care about you. That should never happen. Should never happen. When you're talking about abortion, sometimes we don't assign the emotion and the empathy with the rape to the victim. Instead, we turn it and take it to the child, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So rape and incest is less than 1.5%
Wow.
of all abortions. That's the reason given when you interview women.
1.5%.
Less than 1.5% for the two combined.
What about the health of the mother?
Health of the mother. Now
or the mother and the child.
Here's where we have to be careful. So when you interview ladies and say, what reason did you have? Because these numbers don't look like they make sense. So when you say, tell me the reasons why you chose to have an abortion, and there's options and they can pick their reasons. So it won't add up to 100 because most of the time when women pick their reasons, they pick 3-4 reasons. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I say these numbers and you're like, well, you gave 2 in the 70 percentile, how does that work? Because women said, it's 74%. The number one answer, 74%. It's because it's going to change my life in a way I don't want it to.
It's an inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience. 73% is money.
Oh my gosh,
Financially. When you talk about health, you have to understand it's not necessarily defined as physical health. So if a woman goes in and says, I want an abortion because mental health, I can't handle it, that goes under the health of the mom.
Oh my gosh.
That's still 13%.
Oh my gosh.
And so
that's incredible.
There's all different ways. Now I would, when talking to a victim of rape or incest, I would never ask this question. Mm-hmm. But when talking publicly or at a debate or something, and someone brings up rape or incest, there's 2 reasons. A lot of them will just hide behind that as a good reason to say abortion's okay. And to me, that is the saddest of all, because you're prostituting and abusing a rape victim to promote an agenda.
Yes.
And that tears me up. There are people who legitimately are asking, what about this?
Yes.
And so to those who would legitimately say, what about rape? Again, we have to keep our emotions assigned where they need to be. In the case of rape, in the legal system, we do not put the rapist to death.
Oh, goodness.
That legally, that's not what we assign for rape.
Rapist.
We don't put the victim to death.
Right.
Why would we put the baby to death?
Exactly.
I know bonding is an issue sometimes, but sometimes it's that very life that redeems a situation, and we don't have any way of knowing how God works in situations. But to unilaterally say, hey, if you've been raped, that should be the option.
Right.
We've got to kind of back up. If the rapist's life is still valued to where we don't put them to death, then it cannot be that we put the baby
The
to
baby
death.
to death and pay that price, make that sacrifice.
Yes.
One of the things when I've had conversations with people about that particular topic, I always go back to James Robinson's testimony. James Robinson, international evangelist, millions have been saved as a result of his ministry. He's been on TV for years, godly man, and he was the result of rape. And he openly professes that. His mother was raped, and back in that day, abortion may have been an option, but it was in a back room somewhere, and so she felt she had no choice, and she kept him and raised him, and now he's made a huge impact on the world. So you never know what God's going to do with that life, and yes, it is a life. And if it's something that you do not feel you can raise, like she said, the bonding issue, how many adoptive parents
Yes.
would love to take that child in?
Yes.
So
and really for any of these reasons,
yes,
if you do not feel you can afford, if you are embarrassed, if you're
Yes.
single, and I'm reading off the reasons that women
People
have given,
give.
I'm not
Uh-huh.
making these up.
Mm-hmm.
You're finished having children, you're not ready to have another child. Those are the top reasons that people have given. In all of those cases,
Right.
adoption is an absolutely valid, loving, caring parenting choice.
Exactly. That's so good. So tell us though, what are some of the long-term physical and emotional effects of an abortion?
There are so many. I go back to the Plan B. We've got young girls popping Plan B just often. I talked to a young girl recently about that, and I was shocked by her answer. I'm going to back up just a second. I'll come back to that.
No, that's okay.
And she was talking about high school age girls. Now, she had just moved here from the Metroplex, but she was talking about high school aged girls and how many of them have Plan B and just take it whenever they've had sex with their boyfriend.
Wow.
But what she said was, all of these girls have time on their hands and they have hush money. Now, I'd never heard the term hush money before.
In this context.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I said, okay, you're going to have to explain. And she said, well, many of them have parents who have jobs and have things that they're doing. And so they will give their kids, high school kids, hush money. Go to the show, go shopping, go do what you want.
Goodness gracious.
So I can do what I want.
Right.
I'd never heard it referenced that way before in my life, and it broke my heart. But that was from a high school senior.
Wow.
And so she says all of these girls, these popular girls that have high standing, many of them socially, economic, capable parents have time and hush money. And so Plan B.
So they can get it.
But the long-term effects of that,
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know that we know all of them.
Right.
One of them is that when you do get ready to have children, you won't be able to.
Oh, really?
Yes, it can mess your system up to that degree.
Oh my goodness.
And the same with abortion. It can so mess the uterine wall up from expelling that you never are able to have a child implant into the uterine wall again to carry a pregnancy to term. Depression, alcoholism,
Goodness gracious.
even suicide for post-abortive women are 62 times more likely, 62% more likely to commit suicide.
That's incredible.
So it is not just something that you do and go home and wash your hands up and you're fine.
No.
We're designed, we're created as caretakers, as moms.
Yes.
You don't just end a life
Yes.
and your psyche not know that.
Right.
And so It's very traumatic. It's very long term,
and
it's
most of them
hard.
suffer. They suffer in silence because
Nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks about it,
even in so many of our churches.
Right. It's like the thing we do. It's like the elephant in the room. We just don't talk about it.
I had one. Scott Klusendorf. He's pro-life apologetics worldwide. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's the best. But one of the things he said was that sometimes the only thing standing between a woman and the cross of Jesus Christ is the body of her
unborn baby.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Because we don't speak about it in churches. We don't address it. Is it okay if I just share mine?
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
The reason why we want so much for this to be a non-judgmental, and I know some of the things, what we're telling is truth.
Absolutely.
We're not placing judgment.
No.
As far as you deserve anything. But the truth is, abortion is rough. Abortion is a lie that the enemy has come up with, that we can have it all. We can't. Actions have consequences. Life is a consequence. It's a beautiful consequence. Abortion has consequences. So just by way of complete transparency, I had an abortion when I was younger. I went 20 years. Now, mind you, I was in church. I was speaking in churches. I was living my life as a Christian. I had known in my head and in my heart that the Lord had forgiven me. 20 years I told no one, not a soul. And I mean no one. And in the recesses of my heart, I had accepted God's forgiveness. I had fairly well forgiven myself. But the lie that the enemy told me was that no one else in the world would ever be able to understand it or forgive me for it. And so I could never tell anyone. I could never share that part of my life because life would be over. And so I didn't for 20 years. And the darkness, but now here's the other side. I was in church. My pastor never spoke about the forgiveness from abortion.
No.
I never heard there's forgiveness, there's healing, there's wholeness, there is redemption after abortion. We just didn't talk about it. And so you sit in church and you hear that there's forgiveness after adultery, or you hear that God forgives alcoholism and can redeem and restore and heal. And you never hear the same thing about abortion because it's this taboo topic that we don't want to hurt anybody by talking about.
People are so uncomfortable. It's so awkward.
Yes.
That they don't want to address it because they don't know how.
But the truth is, by not addressing it, we're leaving women, and I mean, let's face it, if a third of women have dealt with the issue of abortion, a third of men have.
Yes.
And so you've got a third of your church.
Yes.
Or your body, or your community group, or whatever you're involved in, who are sitting there suffering from something that we never tell them there's wholeness after. We never tell them there's forgiveness from. We never walk them through how to seek biblically in the Word of God forgiveness for what they have walked through, the lies they've believed. And it's devastating to think that it's the ultimate sin. It's the one no one ever talks about that you can be forgiven from. And that's not the truth of what the Word says. No. And so I just, please, whether it's Wise Choices, whether it's your pastor, whether it's your women's ministry leader, I don't care. If you have abortion in your past, please talk to someone, get wholeness. There is actually, I had an abortion. I was silent about it for 20 years.
They suffer in silence.
And then I was able to volunteer to get healing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I became a volunteer for Wise Choices.
Yes.
Was when I finally opened up to a friend. I was at a women's conference. I was the keynote speaker.
Wow.
And we had women from different ministries who would come, and it's like, okay, we want to do something for the Lord. Well, let's let you know places you can plug in. And so we would bring women from different ministries to tell about the ministries, so that the people attending could say, hey, I might can plug in there. God really stirred this. I might can plug in there. And so we could put feet to our faith. So she came and she told about Wise Choices. And she never mentioned recovery. That's what's so funny. She was kicking herself because she forgot.
Yeah.
And that's all I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, God was like, hello.
Yeah.
And so I went to her and I'm like, this has to stop. This has to end right here. Yeah. And so the lie the enemy told me was every time I got up to speak to women, I would have nightmares before I got up there that here I am speaking to this group of women, and behind me, my secret sin is playing out on this big screen. Only God takes that and turns it around and says, okay, now go speak for life and put it up there on purpose.
Yes. And it takes all the power away from the enemy.
All the power. I mean, once you say, this is the truth, the darkness goes away. You fully can receive the Lord's forgiveness and grace and mercy and love, and no one can ever convince you again that those things aren't real.
That's right.
And you know what? God's people are loving and forgiving.
That's right.
You will not walk the face of the earth alone for the rest of your life.
That's right.
But it's your choice who you tell. Please, I've called to be a little more public with my testimony.
Right.
Not everyone's called to that. And so don't think that if you go and talk to someone and get healing that you got to go announce it to the world. That's not the truth.
That's between you and God.
Yes.
Let him
yes. So don't. That's not.
Yeah. So when you have a young woman, let's say any age, that comes in and she's, I love the term you use, abortion minded, but she's considering abortion. Do you think the father of the unborn child should have a say in the decision?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they don't a lot of times.
Because we've gotten, as society, again, that's another slogan on a poster, my body, my choice.
Right.
Well, it's not your body, it's its own individual living organism that's
and you made a choice before.
Yes.
That started this.
Yes.
You had a choice to make at that point to keep this from happening. And so now you not only have you and the child, but you have the consideration of the father.
Yes.
And I know some fathers want you to take care of it and get rid of it. But
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Men do not abdicate their position of authority very often. This is one topic that when someone says you're a man, sit down and shut up, they go, okay.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Not all of them. But a lot of men are never even told.
Right.
A lot of men have lost children who were never even told that they were fathers.
They were never given a choice.
No. I know men who have begged and said, if you will just carry the child, I will raise it.
Wow.
I will care for the child. And
that's so sad.
The mom won't.
So, and this is along the same lines, but I want to talk about the parents, not the young woman and the young man, but her parents or the young man's parents. And I know that when you've got like an underage child, or someone younger, let's say high school and under, what role do you think the parents should play in that? And even once they get a little bit older, how involved should they be? I think it would be foolish for anybody to assume that every kid that goes into Planned Parenthood says they got permission from mom and dad. I know, it could be aunt, it could be older sister, older brother. There's a lot of things they could get, when abortion was brand new, I was a young mom, and I had a dear friend that she went to get an abortion, and it was very easy. Parents had no idea, she got permission from somebody else. So to think that the parents are always made aware is foolish to believe. But tell me what role you think the parents should play in the decision, or how that should work.
I mean, especially for underage children, the parents that know about it,
yes,
play a huge role. A huge role. To me, they're a lot like wise choices. They have the ability to say, no, this wasn't the choice we would have made for you. No, we don't agree with the decisions that you've made that got us to this point. However, at this point, we have a child to think about.
Right.
And sometimes all the young teenagers need is someone to stand with them.
Right. And
say, we can do this. We're a family unit. We can do this. Sometimes the influence for adoption. You're young. We've had a lady come in with a 14-year-old daughter. Grandmother wanted her to place for adoption. Baby daddy, I hate that term, but
yeah, like a better term.
Wanted her to keep it. He was prepared to go into the military and graduate early. He had a plan on how they were going to do this. Now, mind you, grandmother had adopted this girl.
Oh my goodness.
So she was adopted. And it was a lovely family, but by all. But the 14-year-old daughter was a cheerleader and wanted to remain a cheerleader and wanted to have an abortion. I truly believe had mom and dad stepped up and stepped in and offered the guidance and offered the structure and the hope and empowered her to make a parenting decision of keeping or placing for adoption, that she would have been able to do that. They did not.
Oh, goodness.
They just abdicated their decision making and said, I can't force her to do what she doesn't want to do. And so, against all parental desires, against the dad's desires, she had the abortion, and mom signed for it.
Goodness gracious.
I don't know. Now, if they're over 18 and they don't have to get, I have 2 daughters. I've raised them to follow the Lord. I've raised them to live life a certain way. I've raised them, obviously they know my opinion. They know I'm here for them were something to happen and they make a mistake and they become pregnant. I'm here. Don't run and do something in fear. But I can't force a decision on them at that point.
No.
God gives us all free will. Our children have free will.
And we just pray that they come to us if they ever find themselves in that situation.
Yes, that they know how we feel. They know where we stand. But they also know no matter what, they can come to us.
Well, and if any young mother hears this and thinks, well, I haven't had to deal with this or whatever. If you've got children, you may have to deal with this. But no, the decision whether to have an abortion or not to have an abortion by a young person is not made the moment they have sex or get pregnant. It is made many years prior when they're being raised. When you're raised in to know the Lord, when you're raised in an environment, a loving environment, where the power of God is taught, and where a relationship with Jesus is taught, and an understanding of just how valuable life is, that's when that decision is formed in their hearts. And it just makes it, yes, they may find themselves in this situation, but making the right decision is often much easier to make in that situation when they're raised in those kind of homes. Well, we've covered pretty much everything I wanted you to cover, but real quick, I want you to share and this is kind of off the cuff, so I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. The story, like your favorite story of life that you have come to, and think about it for a moment, you know, because you've got so many. I know I was driving down the road one day and my phone pings. I pick it up, unfortunately, and there's a picture of Connie holding this precious baby and a young girl next to her that is just beaming. And I'm like, what is this? And she goes, that's one of our clients. We didn't know if she had the baby or not. So they had counseled her. The young woman was torn, decided to have the child, and popped in one day to introduce the baby.
And he was cute. He was some kind of cute.
Awesome. So they've got many, many amazing stories. While she's thinking a moment, I do want to tell you, again, I'm going to put the link to their website in the comments. And right now we're still kind of under quarantine, but Wise Choices does a lot of fundraisers to take care of these women, to provide the services. So one of the fundraisers they do is a gala every year. Unfortunately, it's going to be morphed this year. It's always at the end of February.
Yes.
What's the date?
February 25th.
February 25th. And you can participate. It's beautiful. They feature a lot of the babies that were saved because of counseling with Wise Choices, and the moms. And then, like last week, it was funny. They did their first ever polar bear plunge, jumping into the frigid waters of Lake Bridgeport here in Texas, in Wise County, and they raised over $16,000.
And before you say it's Texas, it doesn't count. That water was
It was cold. It was cold that day.
Cold.
The temperature outside when they jumped was 37, and it had been in the low 30s for several days. So that water was really cold. But they offer a lot of different fundraisers. One of my favorite, again, so many stories, because Connie and I, again, are dear friends, and we've known each other for a long time. During the middle of quarantine, we're talking on the phone, and she's at the office. She said, hold on a minute, I gotta go put some diapers out. So a mom had called, needed some diapers and some wipes, and of course the Walmart, the grocery stores at that time had none.
Empty. Yeah.
None. And so they were supplying needed necessity items for these moms. Formula, wipes, diapers, you know, sometimes they help with clothing, all kinds of things. So tell a story, and then as you get done, I want you just to pour out your heart to the listeners.
So I have a couple of different stories. One of the stories is, obviously, we serve anybody. So it doesn't have to be a crisis pregnancy for you to come in. And so one of the babies that have come in, and they've come in more than once now, a young man and his wife came in, and I heard the voices, and then I saw him walk down the hall, and it just so happened that the young man was the first person I ever led to the Lord.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Many years earlier, I had gotten to pray with him as he started his walk with the Lord, and prayed for salvation and placed his trust in Jesus.
Oh, that's incredible.
And he was there with his wife and their first, and they've been back a couple of times. So that's one of those.
Yes,
it just doesn't get any better than that story.
Yes, God hugs.
Yes. But then I think. And maybe just because it's recent, maybe because we're looking back over this last year and everything that was so chaotic. But we had one young mom, and ripped me apart, because I've seen young moms mad at situations. I've seen them fearful. I've seen them, you name it. She was just totally blank. I mean, like there was nothing shining in her eyes. Like there was no affect, there was no emotion, there was absolutely nothing. And I'm not usually the one in the counseling room these days, but I was that day. And for 45 minutes, we talked, and she poured her heart out. Again, 45 minutes. There was, like, it was just, I don't know zombies, but I mean, just nothing. I can't even describe in words zero emotion, just completely flatlined. And she talked about the reasons why she couldn't do this and didn't want to do this and what all was just complete flat. We went ahead and did the sonogram, and she saw that heartbeat. Now the facial expression never changed, but there was one little tear that came out of the corner of her eye. And we went back to the counseling room and talked, and she said, I can't do it. I can't do it. But the thing that makes her such a hero to me and so many of these women is they come in our counseling rooms and we get to talk to them and they say, I can't do it. And they make a decision for life. And then they leave our doors and they go back and they face abusive situations or difficult economic situations, real, true life hardships. And they've made a decision for life, but that decision for life isn't one and done. And so day by day, moment by moment, they're still facing everything that made them think it was hopeless to begin with. But they're facing it from a different point of view. She ended up coming back for a couple of different sonograms. And we'd reach out and sometimes she would answer and sometimes she wouldn't. And it was just kind of this day-to-day, moment by moment walk. And she's the one that brought
the baby.
She's the one with the picture, yeah. And so it was just this precious. She mentioned,
and she was beaming in the
she
picture.
Was beaming. I mean, her face was totally.
And tell them what
different.
She said.
Can't imagine life without him.
I know.
Can't
I just love
imagine.
that.
That's the truth of life.
Yes.
Life breeds life.
Yes.
Death breeds death. And that her face, the love pouring out of her eyes, her voice, the hope she had, her ability to hang on to a decision when she still didn't know how it was going to work out.
Right.
Fed life, not just to her baby, but also to her, and changed her life. And
that's incredible.
That's the heart. It's not save the baby at the expense of the mom. It's life breeds life.
Right.
A decision for life builds strength, builds hope, builds an ability to see a picture of the future. And so I guess if I was going to say anything, number one, this society that we live in today, abortion is not unthinkable. I wish it was. I wish it was completely unthinkable, but it's not, because you hear it so much. The voice of the opposition to life is so loud and so determined and so forceful, and it sounds almost close to right.
So full of lies.
Yeah.
So full of lies.
And it is absolutely deceit. And so my heart is just for truth. Please listen for truth. Please listen to your spirit to hear truth. Please make a decision for life, for yours, for theirs. Get some help. Reach out. If you've had an abortion and made a decision for abortion, again, there's life after death. Jesus proved it. We receive that life after death through Jesus Christ and through the power of his word. There can be life after death. So don't let it be a death sentence to the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be. Jesus loves you. We love you. There are people that love you that you can reach out to.
There's no judgment. Goodness gracious, no judgment.
And in this society where everyone's isolating,
yes,
please don't isolate your heart. Please don't isolate your mind. Talk to someone. Reach out to someone. God called us to community. We're better in community.
Yes.
I'm better when I have friends that shore me up and encourage me and tell me when I'm wrong. Not that she would ever.
Never.
But there is life after death, and there is life instead of death, and life is created and it's beautiful. And God not only desires to author life and create life, but He's also the sustainer and the deliverer,
Right.
and the author of hope and love and truth. Please reach out for truth.
And that's a choice you never regret.
Never.
Never. Most of the women, post-abortive women I know and have talked to that at least admit it, lived with a lot of regret until they went through some sort of counseling. The retreat program that they offer is phenomenal.
It is.
And there's a lot of regret there. But women that have chosen life, even if they gave the child up for adoption, they never regretted it. So, Connie, would you pray to close us out and pray for those hearing, and then we'll finish it up.
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just ask that you honor this time, that your truth rings through, that your heart is what is heard, that your voice is what's taken away. Lord, they can forget Connie and Connie, but please, please let there have been an appointment, a divine appointment with you and your heart through this conversation today. I know we've dealt with tough things. Lord, I pray for those that have listened to it all the way to the end. And I pray if there's anyone that it stirred something in their heart, that they'll reach out, that if it caused them pain, that they'll reach out in that as well, because that is not the end result desired. Lord, I ask that you have your will and your way in each of our lives. And we just praise you as the creator of life, and what a beautiful thing it is. Lord, it's in your name, your precious name, the name of Jesus above every other name, that we have hope and we have a future, and we have a beautiful, beautiful future. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I want to thank you for taking time. I know this is longer than normal, but everything we talked about is so important. Thank you, my friend. Again, this is Connie Coleman with Wise Choices Pregnancy Resource Center. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, ring that notification bell so that you can stay in tune with other upcoming videos. And please keep this handy to share. If you have a women's group, maybe share it with some of them, because I guarantee you somebody in there has struggled with this. And just let people know that there is life after death. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
God bless you.
God bless you.